on there. I'm waiting for the other colleagues to join. But yeah, let's start. Greetings to you all, ladies and gentlemen. This is Comesa Radio Worldwide. The mind, the journey, the destiny. We apply our mind to the journey that takes us to our destiny. Our show is based on the principle called the idea. We inform and entertain. We develop and educate. We empower and support. We associate and network. That is the idea. We are continuing with our weekly series whereby we are reviewing chapter by chapter of the book Holistic Career Development, Coaching, and Mentorship Perspective. The insights from my personal and professional development journey. Who is joining us today? I am joined by two reviewers, Lena Rita Rangwaga and Dade Franz Ramutla. And as always, I'm with my colleague here. We are co-moderating the show, and Dade Mai Mutuvatse. And of course, our anchor, Bauba Spice Sogogoli Paul. Let me greet you, colleagues. Welcome, and of course, our listeners. Let's start with our two guests, Ndate Ramutla and Lena. Just say hi to the listeners, first 5 minutes, and give us your impression so far of the book. Ndate Ramutla, I will start with you, followed by Rita, and then I will allow Ndate Spice and Mai Mutuvazi to take it to the next level. Over to you, Ndate Ramutla.
Thank you very much, Prasam. Good evening, listeners. My name is Franz Makolobera Mutla. I am a member of Cometa. I am a former president of the South African Black Social Workers Association. I worked for the Gauteng Department of Social Development, occupying various positions. Today, we will be sharing a review of Chapter 5, Child of the Village. We will be looking at the submissions that we received from the book and look at how Prasem has provided information in the book, and we review the book. And then we'll look at the environment in which the child intellect was developed. And then we will also look at the co-responsibility of the families and the community in the upbringing of the children. And then we will also share with you the warmth that Prasem felt when the children were taken care of by the village. We will also looking at certain beliefs, practices, and behaviors that were so deeply to Prasem in that he then expected other elders to espouse their role. And then we'll also look at the village practices that are no longer as fully and as strong as they were in the future. The other issue we're looking at is the emphasis that the mentors and the coaches should understand their perspective before they can understand the perspectives of their clients. And then we will look at the aha moment and share with you the aha moment. And then we will share with you the new insight and knowledge, our take-home and new behaviors and practices. Thank you, Prasam.
Thank you very much, Ndate Ramutla, for that overview of your review. Over to you, Rita.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Rita Lena Maritarangwaga. I'm a COMETA member. I'm also a farmer at heart. That's something which is close to my heart. And I'm an employee or working as an inventory manager at an engineering company in Benoni. This book, Holistic Career Development Coaching and Mentorship Perspective. What a great book. Took too long for me to come to say we've waited for too long. And I'm happy, very happy that we have it now. We will be doing the review with you about chapter 5. So as Ntatera Mutwa has explained all the parts which we will be touching. Looking forward to engage.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Hello, listeners. My name is Mai Mutiwaze. Yes, we will be reading chapter 5 today. And I would like to say what a beautiful book that we have here. And we hope that you'll enjoy today as we go through chapter 5 and you kind of get the feel of the book and also understand the author's understanding of coaching and the plan behind writing this book. Thank you.
Bauva.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody, and good evening to the listeners. I've been part of this review from the day we launched it on the 31st of March, and I've always been excited and sometimes very emotional about what is the content of the book is all about. It triggers some nostalgia, especially when it mentions the places where the author grew up, because I've been part and parcel of that area. I come from that area. And by the way, the book actually gives a lot of light on our Skukune area, the district, and everything. But just to touch a bit on the last chapter, which is called chapter 4, which spoke so passionately about Moripane, where the author actually grew up, and he was mentored holistically by the leaders of the communities, especially the grandparents, the teachers, and so on. And the way he actually ended that chapter with poems and praises and everything, and it just touched my inner self, and I said, wow.
Just move closer to your microphone, Bauva.
Okay, so that is what happened, and I'm glad now we're moving to chapter 5, which is the child of the village. What an emotional subject! The village that I capture and I can see so vividly. The village that I come from. Sam is so passionate about this village, and then today we're going to hear from the presenters what they've learned about this. Particularly, I'm impressed by the whole concept of the child of the village, where the child belongs to the family, but it also belongs to the whole village. It's a concept that should actually leave lots of impression on our listeners this evening. So we are looking forward to hearing more about the child of the village and how it is connected to the whole system of coaching and mentoring and so on as part of personal and professional development.
Beautiful, beautiful. And that, Paul, I at this point, I'm inviting our two reviewers to take it from there. Rita, over to you and tell us what's coming from your review. And then when you're done, that Ramutla will take it further.
Okay, thank you, Sam, and the listeners. This chapter 5, Child of the Village. Having been born and raised in the rural area myself, the child of the village concept has been one of those fundamental African ideas that we learn to appreciate its importance. Hence, I strongly feel it when Sam in the book on page 96, when you're saying having grown, I quote, having grown up in such an environment in Moripane, in Sekhukhune district of Limpopo province, South Africa, I can appreciate the warmth such an environment provided to the children as they were growing up. Indeed, growing up in the village, being loved by every person in the village, it comes naturally, like you say in the book. And it's so wow, it's so beautiful when you grow up in the village. And this statement that I just quoted is one of the statements when I was reading this chapter, took me back to that time when we were growing up in the village. I come from Nukaneng. It's more or less the same as Sekhukhune, as Moripane is a village. So we use the very same kind of principles. So much so that in the village, when a child was reprimanded, that action, came out of that love from all the villagers. I remember at one stage.
We seem to have lost Rita there. She was flowing so well. And that Ramutla, you're going to fill in there, and we want Rita to come back and continue. But over to you, that Ramutla.
Thank you, Prasam. For me, the child of the village take me back to memory lane. I remember that when we grew up, it was the culture of our family for every festive season to go home. That was a tradition. And when you arrive home, you find that at that old days, the village was still responsible for the upbringing of the children. There were those traditions that were performed. For example, boy children and girl children were still going to what they call the mountain schools. And then we were also exposed to farming. And when it comes to the issue of the clans, unlike currently where the apartheid system has put us through the setup that looks like the urban area setup, in the olden days, each and every clan had households that were far from each other, but each and every household had a farm. So we had subsistence farming there. There has been self-reliance. People were able to take care of themselves. And then when we went there, Brasem, the issue of inculcating respect between the children and their parents, and between the children and other relatives. So issues like Wolocha, when children meet their parents for the first time, they acknowledge by Wolocha. But we also, I had a contrary upbringing between going to the village and coming back to the urban area. But what was interesting was the journey from the urban area to the rural area, because that time the roads were not as perfect as they are here. So we used to take 4 hours going home, and not for 6 hours to 8 hours. But for us as children, it was a very interesting journey. So what I've realized in the book is that Brasam is saying it is very important for us to acknowledge the role that cultural dynamics played during that time, and that we must play an active part in contributing to its development. And he went on to say, I quote, "I brought this experience into perspective to inform my coaching and mentoring philosophy. It also tells everybody interested in the topic about the importance of reflecting on theirs before they partner with others in the coaching and mentorship journey." I've noted that this issue of perspective is very, very important, because as alluded to in the book, if you don't understand your perspective, you won't be able to assist other people to understand their perspectives. And then Brasam goes on with the book to appreciate the generations before us. He said that actually is a critical review, that the generation before us seldom put all these children of the village practices into an educational context. So we are very much lucky that we have this book, because it is going to form part of the educational system going forward. He further said, "I'm writing about this as a contribution to the more extensive reflection that the Africans, as a matter of agency, should have." He said, "By so doing, we are not in denial of the new cultures that have integrated with ours, but appreciate that we have cultural gaps that must be filled." As a compliment, he's saying, "We are grateful that the generations before us sustained these children of the village practices and principles, and that today we can link their importance to the cognitive and mental development and growth of the village's children in the modern era." This is very important because the cognitive and mental development and growth of the children will benefit from this book going forward as part of vocational guidance and training. Brasam is telling us that the child of the village upbringing is informed by the philosophy, principle, concepts, practices, and activities of bringing up the children's village. And this could be used to fulfill the objectives of developing the cognitive abilities and mental strength of today's children. So it means as we read the book is developmental. We capture the child of the village through an evolutionary process, and we also going to benefit from that process because it will form part and parcel of the new paradigm.
Beautiful. I saw Rita has lost power where she is, and she's trying to log in through a hotspot. When I see her back, I will interrupt and apologize in advance because I want her to finish the thought that she was sharing with us. Over to Ntate Spice and followed by my Mela, just to reflect on what we have had. and then we'll come back to both Ndatera Mutla and Rita to take it to the next level of reflection. Bawa?
Thank you. What actually impresses me is the fact that the author is saying he won't forget the warmth that he experienced in that environment when he was the child of the village, where the eyes of the mothers and the fathers were looking at him and nurturing him in this personal growth. And what worries me a bit, and I agree with him, that he actually laments that that type of thing is no longer it's no longer being practiced in the current situation, which is unfortunately and very, 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 very disturbing, because those are the wealth that the African culture actually embedded in all of us, the loving, the warmth, the ownership, the belonging, the identity that we had about our villages. So,
Bawa, let me quickly give Rita opportunity to finish her thought. Hold it there, Bawa, don't lose it. I just want to make sure that she finishes the thought that we lost earlier on. Yeah, no, she's struggling. Carry on, Bawa. Sorry about that.
okay.
Yeah.
So, I'm saying all the practices, the behaviors, the socialization and the institutionalization of our culture it has been very basic in our days, especially some of us, and it actually made us who we are. Now, there was this saying that, well, Jimmy comes to Joburg, and we were called like that, but because of the strength and the development that we gained from being children of the villages, we were able to compete very, very ably in the cities and in corporate companies. We were made strong by our parents, by our villages, and by our communities. So it is very, very important, as Francis indicated, that this whole philosophy, when it comes to coaching and mentoring, the socialization processes, the institutionalization of values from the villages becomes very, very important, because it is only through that you can actually understand your clients and you can actually relate to them. So it is very, very important.
Rita is back. Bawa, hold it there. Let's give Rita opportunity. Rita, you are struggling, but we can see you now. Do you mind just quickly take the thoughts further that we lost you at? Okay. She's struggling where she is with connectivity. Yeah, I will finish it and then let Ndatera Mutla comes in before Maimela reflect.
Yeah, this whole developmental journey from the village, where the boys will actually learn from men and the girls who learn from the mothers, it's very, 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 very impressive. And it is all about Ubuntu. What it's all saying about in this book is that the African culture has got very rich history and rewards when it comes to the development of the children. And it must be really appreciated in most respects. Well, it reminds me of the time when we used to play in Spying, like the author is mentioning this, it triggers all those moments where we would play at night and learn a lot of other things, sing together, play together, and grow together. And it engenders the sense of belonging, and we all become ambassadors of our villages. And we actually become the son and daughters of the soil. It
Beautiful.
is our land, and that's why we are proud of it. Every time we think about it, we become nostalgic.
Beautiful.
That's
Rita is here. If she can continue from there.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you. I'm not sure at what point did I get lost, but nonetheless, on another, there's a statement on page 98, where Sam is talking about the fact that we are the carriers of the culture, tradition, norms, values, and practices inherited from our forefathers and mothers. It is still possible to reflect by writing books about them. This need not be academic books, but information sources for much deeper empirical research. Listening to that statement is another statement out of this chapter which makes me emotional, because I visited few libraries around Gauteng and I don't remember seeing a book with such information. And that's a painful reality which actually we need to bring it up amongst ourselves as communities, in particular Black communities. So hence I was saying this book is very much challenging. To me, it challenges how I think, how I used to do things, and how can I do things better going forward. Not only just as a mentor, as a coach, but as an individual, even for myself. What can I do better? Yeah. So that's another point which I needed to highlight.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful. You know what I like most, Rita, is that you mentioned that you are also born in a village, and you being able
Yes.
to identify, it really makes me jealous, because I was born in the township, and Sam writes about child of the village. Ngwana wa mo- which in Spanish he says is ngwana wa mo. Now, that is very powerful in English when you say child of the soil, because every time we speak of our freedom in this country, we talk about the land, which is the soil. And I am very perplexed that, we kind of have forgotten that we own the land, actually. That, as Sam writes, that child of the soil, you own that land in the villages, whereas our parents were renting in the townships. And he goes further and speaks about ngwana moshimane molao o tšea banneng, which means that a boy child has to learn from male adults. Now, my question, that something that I'm questioning myself is, would this apply in the township? Which I don't believe, because in rural areas, in the village, as it's written in this book, that every child belongs to the village, which is why it was so simple that a boy child can learn manners from a male adult, and so forth. With same thing with a girl child. A girl child would learn from a female adult. We cannot. We couldn't do that. Why? Because every child belonged to their parents only. And sometimes your parents will tell you never to speak to that adult or never to take anything from an adult, because there was no trust within us. And for me, this book is what is telling me that, we thought we were privileged to have been born in the big city, but actually you guys in the village were more privileged than us.
Rita, you are being affirmed there.
I think on page 99,
Stick.
Russell,
Yeah, yes, Ndadera Mutla.
Brasam is sharing with us the transitioning of a village from being a physical place to be a concept. He says, I'm writing about the child of the village as a concept, not as a physical place, although that is where it was originally practiced. I'm traveling back to the past, sharing my experiences of growing up as a child of the village, giving examples of how we were brought up, and acknowledging my way of being in perspective coming from there. This paragraph could be a summary of the whole chapter, because he continues to say, I own it, my way of being in, I own it and appreciate its relevance to my personal and professional life today. So the child of the village is a concept that could be applied to any community, institution, organization, club, or society in bringing up or developing their future leaders. We can produce management and leadership theories and principles from it. In doing so, we must appreciate that a particular cultural practice and value system are required to achieve maximum benefit from the concept. Indeed, in the other parts of this chapter, he was taking us through the processes through which the child of the village is exposed to. But in this paragraph, he put everything about the child of the village into perspective. Thank you.
Beautiful, Ndadera Mutla. The gospel you are which means we can never finish everything we want to talk about because of time limitation. I'm going to ask you, even myself as the author, I feel like I shouldn't be doing this to you, but unfortunately I'm watching time. I'm enjoying your reflection. Do you mind, you and Rita, if you can share with the listeners, what has been confirmed for you? What are the aha moments? What are you taking home with? And what will you do differently going forward? And then that they might and Spice will add a little bit of spice to it at the end.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
Ndadera Mutla, the Lekgotla way, please wrap it up for us.
The chapter has confirmed that the child of the village, in particular in relation to son of the soil, is a very important concept. And it made me to reflect on my upbringing as well, as I indicated that I was also living in the urban areas, but we spent a lot of time in the rural areas. The aha moment for me was when you indicated that this indicates the importance of the role of the father in the upbringing of the boy child. The new insights and knowledge, it's when in the book we are informed that Much as we take the child of the village as a physical, reflecting on the physical space, we now use it as a concept that is going to influence our mentoring and our coaching and mentoring contributions. The new behavior and practices, obviously, as I've indicated, now we are going to use the child of the village information we received from this chapter to inform our innovation around coaching and mentoring. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's very interesting. That's very interesting what you just said, Franz. And I just want to add that, you know, in page 102, Brasem also speaks about, you know, the symbolism of all the cultures one belongs to. You know, that, you know, the village is, I quote, the village is a symbolic of all the structures one belongs to in the community, including the physical space. So we are referring to all these subsets like schools, households, organizations, etc. All these structures contribute to the molding of children in their early years of development and growth, unquote. So now, in taking this, for me, it reminds me that, you know, there were times when we were young and, you know, you struggled in terms of, you know, understanding some of the things that you have to go through as a youngster and also even at school. And it kind of reminds me that sometimes all this misunderstanding were starting from the households. They stem from where you come from. Hence, in our time, you know, in the townships, there were children that you're not supposed to play with. You would be told that because of their household, you know, the way they run things, you are not allowed to play with them. But I really appreciate the fact that in this book, I learned the fact that, you know, this was very different in the villages. And the other thing that I like is, I'm going to quote Brasem again, where he says, I'm engaging with this perspective in this book, reflecting and allowing myself to let go of such a past, beautiful as it sounds, and prepare myself as a coach and mentor for the new world. This is the process I encourage all the coaches, mentors, and their clients to go through. It will assist in talking you out of being stuck and hang-ups from the past and being ready for the new world, unquote. You know, that is very powerful, not only for coaches, because here it says for coaches and mentors, but for me, even if I'm not a coach, it means a lot for me to kind of be able to allow the past to remain the past. Because, you know, they say once you leave your past, you know, it kind of holds you back. And I like that. Although what Prasem likes saying is that, you know, we live our life forward, but
yeah, life is understood backwards.
life is understood backwards, but we live it forward. You know, it might sound contradictory, but if you think of it at the same time, it's very true. I mean, this is what I take from this book, and I love it.
Beautiful, beautiful. Rita, your time to give us your takeaways and the confirmations. The guidelines are there at the end of the book. I'm sure you listened to Ndadera
Yes.
using the same guidelines.
Yes. What has confirmed for me when I looked at page 99, I'm quoting the
Yeah, we lost her again. She will come back. And that Paul, you can also, having listened to the two guest reviewers, give us your own final remarks using the same guidelines. And I'll ask Mai also to do the same. once we are done with it.
Thank you very much. This is the most powerful way of learning for our children. That everything that is within the communities, is within the village, belongs to them. That is their home, that is their life, and they should actually enjoy it more and more and more and grow, or for their own growth. And that by belonging to the village means much more than just being an individual. You are part of the group, you learn from the group, and you participate in all those things. The village is a symbol or a structure where one belongs. That is the schools, the community, the household, the organization, which all contribute towards personal development and growth.
Very nice, guys.
The other point I think I need to highlight here is that this thing it becomes an instinct in our heart. We live it in communities, and that's why we talk about Ngwanamobu, that is the child of the village. And they belong there, they're the ambassadors, and they're everything that is in that community. So it is very, very, very important. So the way things happen, the socialization, the institutionalization, the very system that takes place in the community becomes very, very, very important.
Yeah, that's all. Thank you so much, Baba. I'm going to ask Mai to also give us his takeaway and reflection using the guidelines.
For me, my takeaway. I'm sorry that I'm going to be very repetitive in the sense that I'm saying what is in my heart. I'm saying what this book does to me, because this book takes me back to my upbringing. It takes me back to the township, and it always makes me want to compare between the two, because the author has written about the village child, and I am a township child. In page 103, he wrote, I quote, "As mentioned, in the small rural village of Moripane, we had a central meeting place called Sebae, where we, the young adult boys, would meet regularly and socialize. It was not encouraged for the young adult boys to sit at home, especially during the early evenings, while the others were at Sebae. We also served as the eyes and ears of the village. For example, every vehicle entering the village would drive past Sebae, and by default, would know what it was about." You see, this paragraph reminds me also of my childhood in Soweto, Tladi, whereby we had our own Sebaeng, which wasn't really the same as this Sebaeng, because my Sebaeng would be a corner or at the shops or somewhere under a tree, where we'd just sit and we'd just talk mostly rubbish. I mean, we would talk about girls, and it would not even be positioned strategically that it would be a place where you are overlooking the township. Because sometimes it could be as far as, in the forest, and this is where we learn to smoke. This is where we learn to drink alcohol. So hence I'm saying this chapter just makes me be jealous of child of the village, and more so that there was a time when we became freedom fighters. We believed that we were fighting for our land, but we never called ourselves a child of the soil. I see Lena is back. I'm gonna give her a chance to follow up on what she was saying. Lena.
Yes, sir. I'm back.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So I saying the land represent our whole being it became my aha moment, as I've already kind of mentioned some of the facts. When it comes to the new insights and knowledge, somebody once said to me, reading a great book trains the mind. And I found that to be very true. After reading this book, I said to Sam, I need to read this book like I read the Bible. To read it with understanding. And that's what I done with the chapter 5. I read it with understanding. And I looked into, when you look into page 102 of the same chapter 5, this chapter sharpened my understanding in terms of the fact that I have
Hello, listeners. Maybe
bringing has been holding me up. I couldn't, Sam said on chapter 2, I'm engaging with this perspective in this book, reflecting and allowing myself to let go of such a past, as beautiful as it sounds, and prepare myself as a coach and mentor for the world. This said to me when I was reading it, and I said, now I think now I'm ready to let go and understand that we are in the new world. My upbringing, as much as my understanding of, I can take what I learned while growing up and find the flow in the new world, I will do better. I like I said, I was raised in the village, and I don't think as well that I was ever prepared for this world, for this new world. It is still kind of for me, I like to say to my son, you, the youth, the 2000, you are yahi, because of the way they do things. I don't get it. I don't understand it. So hence I say now I've learned that I really need to let go. After I read that statement, I said, okay, now I understand. I'm in the new world. Find your flow in this new world and let go. It's beautiful. It taught you a lot, but let go and find your flow.
Yeah, that's all.
And stop seeing things. Yeah. And stop seeing things as black and white, because in my world, based on how I was raised, is either something is black or is white. And that was driven by my own standards or morals. So forgetting that these young ones, they have their own standards and morals as well. So yeah, I have learned that. What I can take home, I wish my class of 1995 was listening, because most of us who are still in contact, we have the same mindset of in our times. When we talk, we like to say that, in our times, things were like this, we're like that. I think this book would help us or to guide us to transform better. We can do a better reunion based on the facts which Sam has highlighted in this book. As I said to you, Sam, I'm going to buy a few more copies, because I would like as many people as I could in my circle to have this copy, so we can see what we can do within our villages. And the new behaviors and practices. Chapter 5 has kind of forced me to do a bit of a deep introspection, self-introspection. Before I could continue to engage with others in the coaching and mentoring journey, I really need to do that. So yeah, that's because I come out as a kind of a person who is a bit harsh. If I give you information today and after 2 days you ask again, I will go like, what's wrong with you? I gave you this information. Or I still preach about the CATS program. And when I tell the youngster, go to CATS and do this and that, and after a week, a child comes back to me and say, by the way, you said, where should I go? I get irritable. No, I told you. And or they come and say, who should I see when I get there? And I said, but I told you, go and see Isabella. Why are you asking again? So, and that, I think it's also, that's why I say I need to do my own self-introspection and take a step back and find this flow in this new era, because we really need that. I really need that, as well as my 1995 class.
Well, I would love to know when you and your 1995 class are making a reunion. It will be wonderful to hear where it's happening. But that's the whole idea. Thank you so much, Lena. Ntatera Mutla wanted to make another remark, but I want the remarks to be on how you are going along experiencing the book. I know we are looking chapter by chapter, but as you read the chapter, if you can share with us what build-up are you making for yourself? Maybe should we start with Bauba? Just about 2 to 3 minutes, Bauba.
Yes, thank you very much. Reading the book, there is one thread that is going through everything, and that is about personal development. That the coaching, the mentoring is influenced by a number of things. The environment, the different concepts like we've just mentioned about the child of the village, and these are all necessary for personal development and to an extent about career development, because we learn different things, we get tools, we get some guidelines that people can use to actually develop their careers and so on. So it is very, very important, the fact that we share from different presenters. It is very, very fruitful for this reviewing process.
Great.
Wonderful.
And Ntatera Mutla, as you are reading the book, I don't know where you are in the book now, but I know you are reading it on a daily basis. What are you building for yourself?
Definitely, this is a new exposure. I think in the near future, I'll be one of the seasoned book reviewers. Number one. Number two, this book has taught us that we are soon going to be natural coaches and mentors without having gone to formal training.
Nice one, Franz. Nice one. You're jumping the ladder. Jump the ladder.
Thank you.
Yeah. Rita, I know that when you got the book, the first chapter you read was the last chapter. Tell us about that. I was intrigued by that. I know we're going to review it at some future stage. Don't review it now. I just wanted to know, why did you jump to the last
chapter? Just the title, Born to Serve. It made me to understand what do you mean by gave me that hunger, feeling, wanting to know what is that all about. Yeah. So I don't want to do spoiler alert on that one. It's my favorite. Okay. Sam knows this. There's one statement which he done here, and he canceled my entire thinking. And at the launch, I told him, I want to pick a fight with you with that statement, because you scratched my whole thinking. And I felt guilty, and like seriously guilty with that one statement.
Lena,
yes,
I think I know that statement. That statement, I also did the same.
Don't do spoiler alert.
No, I'm not going to say it. But that statement, I also had a fight with Prasem.
And by the way, our forward writer, Cecilian Sanguincido, addressed me on that same statement. Actually, during the launch itself,
yes.
If she's listening, I know she knows what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're not going to spoil it for those who are going to
read the book.
read the book and also attend the review.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Yes.
now, a few minutes left. I want Mai also to tell us as he's reading the book. He's not only reading the book, but he's doing a couple of things around the book, especially the visual, the audio stuff.
Audio visual coverage, because I did the audio visual coverage. So what I'm doing now, I'm busy editing and making small clips for the promotions, and so for me, I'm reading the book and at the same time I'm editing. So I'm not editing the book, I'm editing the launch. What Mrs. Lindiwe Sangwenisido asked about, and the answers that Brasem gave, which is very interesting, because every time there are times when I'm reading the book and I'm thinking, no, this I need to add in the video. I need to do something about this, and I have to call my voiceover artist and say, hey, I need you. There's another part that I forgot, because it's so interesting. I don't want to spoil it, but yeah, anyone that hasn't read the book, you need to read the book, and I'm compiling something very beautiful for you to see. Sam will be posting some of the video clips that I'm doing. Yeah.
Wow, beautiful stuff. Yeah, as I said, that we are almost left with 3 minutes now. While we still have some few listeners, I want to remind you that next week we are proceeding same time on Tuesday. That will be the 16th of May. We will be reviewing chapter 6. Chapter 6 is titled Foundational Education. We're going up now. We're going on the formal side of development from the child of the village, where we experience holistic development, to where now we enter the classroom. And this foundational education chapter review is going to be done with our fellow coach, George Mutenda Zamera. And I'm sure some of my colleagues here today will help me welcome George. Definitely, certainly Mai and Dadeva Uba Paul will be with us, and maybe someone else that is an expert on issues or topics of education, or someone else who might have really read this chapter and feel that they can really come and partner with George. In other words, for those of you who are listening, this is almost like an open invitation to say that jump in and be part of the journey, because we are really building a momentum as we go chapter by chapter. So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. That was Cometa Radio Worldwide, CRW, the mind, the journey, the destiny. We apply our mind to the journey that takes us to our destiny. Our shows are based on the principle called the idea. We inform and entertain, we develop and educate, we empower and support, we associate and network. That is the idea. And we are continuing on that line, and we will look forward to see you next week. The colleagues in the studio, please don't go away. Stay few minutes as we wrap up. And yeah, we had a wonderful listenership today. It's beautiful. It will be available on a podcast, commercialradiopodcast.com. That's where you will listen to the previous shows, and that's where you will hear the future shows. And we hope we will have you as our community building up the momentum. For now, thank you, take care, and be safe.